Greetings, minions! 'Tis I, the Flaming Monocle, and I'm here to put to rest several questions that have popped up over the last few weeks. I shall try to address all of them, though if I miss anyone in particular, please do feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll do my best to answer your question promptly. So, without further ado, I shall get straight down to the nitty-gritty of answering your posed questions, starting with the inimitable Tight Fist and Loose Cankles, whose most excellent channel can be visited by clicking the annotation on your screen, or by checking the links in the About section below. So, Tight Fist and Loose Cankles asks, what is your villainy pet? Now, I'll assume this literally means, do I have a pet, and what is it? Two questions rolled into one. I commend thee for thy usage of compound questioning. As it happens, I do have a most loyal companion. He is Panthrax, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and yelled at the top of my lungs, "By the power of Grayskull!" Panthrax became the mighty Panthrax, Cat of Battle, and I became infinitely more muscular and sexually appealing, and became the loudest individual in the universe. Hopefully that's answered your question, so on to question 2. If you could be a superhero in disguise for one day, who would it be? Now this one is easy. I'd become the oft-imitated, never-matched Rent-A-Hero. I'd run around all day and rescue people for no financial gain whatsoever. And just before the day is up, I would stand in one of those rooms where the walls slowly close in on you to crush you. So when Rent-A-Hero regains control of his body, he would be in a vast predicament indeed. Onward and upward. What is the one unique thing that you are afraid of? Lady Azabat. So, we move on now to some questions from other friends and YouTubers. The Gadget Addicts has posted, so what I want to know is which impression of a real person or character can you do that you're most proud of? Or that surprised you most when you realized you could do it? Well, I might have to do that one a bit later. Danny asks, why a lava fortress? Isn't it a bit dangerous? Just worried about the burns and stuff. Well, it does mean vastly cheaper heating bills. So thank you, Danny, for your question. Professor Bastardly, he asks, will you be including me in the Q&A video? No. We move on to T-Dude, who asks, will you be including me in the Q&A video? No. Moving on, Beutimus. What was the one positively good thing you've done this week? Well, earlier this week I took a short break from being evil, which in itself meant the world got to live another day. How generous am I? Thank you, Beutimus, for your question. Gareth, my very good friend Gareth, asks, what do you use to keep your monocle alight? Well, my monocle is kept alight by the aura of naughtiness that surrounds me, which concentrates around my monocle, which has been developed from pure monoclonium, which has distinct energy-absorbing properties. The flame occurs as an overflow of evil energy which escapes into the atmosphere. As such, I wear it at all times to make sure I'm never anything other than 100% pure evil. Thank you very much indeed, Gareth. OneLineDerek asks, what is your go-to beverage? Well, coffee. If entirely possible, I try to drink sufficient quantities so that sleep is no longer necessary, or I become nerd. If it's alcohol you're tempting me with, then a good old-fashioned whiskey mac, no E in that whiskey by the way, usually does the trick. Moving on, we have Retro-Inactive Gamer, who asks, if you were not a villain, what would your day job be? Not even a dream job per se, just a way to pay the bills. Well, I'd probably be a graphic designer come video editor for a small art house in Surrey in the UK, focusing on motorsports and classic cars. Sounds awful compared to villainy. Good thing I'll never have to resort to that, eh? Next, we have Eyevoree, who asks, when did you know for sure that you were evil and destined to enslave the human race? It was a Tuesday. I remember that much. I got a letter through the post informing me that I'd inherited a small fortune and a volcanic island from a Nigerian fellow. Naturally, I knew this to be rubbish and promptly burnt the mail. Later that day, however, I received another letter from Bastardly and Bastardly solicitors telling me that I actually had inherited a large fortune and an island teeming with volcanic activity. one thing led to another, and here I am today. Sorry, what was the question again? Anyway, B and G's Q&A, number 6, with the Gadget Addicts, can be seen by clicking the annotation on your screen now, or by visiting one of the links below in the About section. He asks, again, the Gadget Addicts getting a few questions in today, what impression can you do that you're most proud of, or the one that you have the most fun doing? This sounds rather a lot like the last question, but I shall answer this probably at the end. If not, then, hey, you're not paying me for this stuff. Anyhow, it entirely depends on what game I'm playing and what stimulus is on the screen. Typically, when I descend into madness with T-Dude, we ricochet off one another and end up spouting Bill Cosby, or Billy I can't do it, just forget that. Bill Cosby, or Billy Connolly, or the like. Or some sort of old English army officer. Yes. My accents are rarely of people, and more to do with stretching one's vocals this way and that until you've quite forgotten your own voice entirely. And I suppose moving on from there, I should say that this is probably the voice that you're more used to hearing on the videos, because I don't always put on the deep threatening voice with the rolling of the R's and so on and so on. No, you're probably more used to something like this, which is something I use when I'm playing a video game with T-Dude, most likely. Anyway, let's move on to a question from B, who says, doesn't he sound just a little bit like John Cleese? Well, I'll leave that one up to you to decide. You're right, I don't. I sound occasionally entirely like him, by accident, of course. And G, who asks, since I'm so evil, if I was any evil ruler from all of history, which one would it be? A real ruler. Probably Gandhi. That madman will toss nuclear warheads at anyone who so much as sneezes in his presence. And another question from G. If I could live inside any mascot suit, which would it be? Now, would you believe me if I said that this question was asked before the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 3? Spooky. Very spooky. Anyway, if I had to live inside a mascot suit, it would have to be one that I've looked up on the internet, because we don't have much in the way of mascots in the UK, and fewer still that survive on my volcano island. Actually, no, I tell a lie. I'd have the Michelin Man suit. Then I could have a few drinks at my local tavern and be assured of a safe walk home, and a game of human pinball at the same time. Anyway, back to the Gadget Addicts again, who's managed to get quite a few questions in today. Which guitar riff and or song lyric do you wish that you could have written? Obviously, I am a man of interesting musical taste, as you might imagine, and the very first one would have to be that fantastic riff from Rush's The Spirit of Radio. If you don't know the one I'm talking about, I suggest looking it up on your favorite music streaming service, and or YouTube if you could do it legitimately. I suppose after that it would have to be something like the Riverboat song by Ocean Colour Scene, and dipping into something slightly older, it would have to be Apache by The Shadows. I know, eclectic. As for lyrics, I think it was Neil Young who once penned, "It's better to burn out than to fade away." I rather like that. Well, the first bit, anyway. So moving on away from B&G, thank you very much indeed for posting those particular questions, and I had a lot of fun answering them. But we now move on to some questions posed by the general YouTubing public. Firstly, starting with World Videos 77 on YouTube, and who also goes by @FluffyGuy2077 on Twitter, has asked no fewer than 5 questions. But since he asked them in the form of a video, I applaud the effort, and shall answer them here for you now. His very first question is, if you were in an RPG, which class would you be? I think sticking to the Dungeons & Dragons class list, it would have to be the Wizard, because they can be so unbelievably evil when you want them to be, which is often all the time. So, yes, that would be my RPG class, in a Dungeons & Dragons style. His second question is, what type of world would you explore? And I must say, without a doubt, it would have to be Ed Greenwood's very famous Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms being a very high fantasy world where magic is very powerful and legendary monsters are commonplace and the gods themselves often intervene directly in mortal affairs. Plenty of opportunity for hijinks. Question number 3. If you had to make a party of 4, what 3 other YouTubers would you recruit, and what would their classes be? Well, let's make this interesting, shall we? And make these my nominations for our Q&A video, shall we? Nominations from here should take heed of my questions at the end of this YouTube video and answer them appropriately when they have time to put together a video themselves. So, a party of 4. Let's say 5 and make myself the 5th party member. Firstly, we'd need a warrior, someone tough, willing to throw themselves needlessly into oncoming traffic or enemy blows or just about anything that by rights ought to kill me instead. And naturally, I can think of nobody better than our own hero for hire, Rent-A-Hero. So he can be our first party member. Secondly, we'd need a master of stealth, cunning, a real tactician who can read a battlefield, a map, or unlock a pesky treasure chest that refuses to be opened by magic. And for that job, I pick Fallen Shogun Gaming. Thirdly, we need a ranged character who can hurl projectiles at our enemies, track a dangerous creature, or see in the razor and show us the way. Having seen her character in Guild Wars 2, I must say that Azizrian Azzy would be perfect for this role. So Azzy, you're number 3, a ranged character. And number 4 would be a healer. Someone to buff us with helpful spells and to tend to our wounds. This person ought to be compassionate and caring and... Nope. Let's go with another warrior. Angela from the Double Damsels. I suppose she can heal us in a pinch, but I don't think her methods are to be trusted. So, Angela, our 4th member of the party. There you have it. One perfectly formed, flawless, and balanced party. Let's roll for initiative. Oh, another question. If you could cast one summon, what would you summon? I suppose aside from the obligatory Knights of the Round from Final Fantasy VII, which is a bit overpowered if you ask me, and long, I would have to go with another Final Fantasy summon in the form of Doom Train. No, seriously, that is the coolest. And a weapon of choice. I suppose there are 2 weapons of choice, really, because I am a massive fan of Acheron and Nirvana. And bonus points if you know where those weapons are from, and who wields them, and the sort of person that might wield them might give you a clue. Unless I was bound by my earlier decision of wizarding, in which case I would simply wield a wizard staff. What makes it a wizard staff? It has a knob on the end. Everyone knows that. Now I've answered all of your questions and have nominated 4 individuals to take up the challenge and answer my questions. But wait, since Tight-Fisted Loose Cankles nominated me first, I really should add another 2 people to this list. So behold as I pick them. So let's go with Lady Azabat, because I would not dare defy her ladyship by not nominating her. And Watch Me Game, because he and I shall be participating shortly in a little live stream which I'm pretty sure you've heard about. And I should hope you'll all be there. Now for the questions, the bit you've all been waiting for. Question the first. On a scale of your own choosing, how evil are you exactly? Question the second. Taking question 1 into consideration, what is the most evil thing you've ever done? Question the third. A small child walks past you. His clothes are drab and he evidently hasn't been eating properly. He asks you for 6pence. Something doesn't seem quite right. What do you do? Question the fourth. What would you say is your favourite spoon? Question the fifth. Out of all of the videos you've ever produced for the YouTubes, which among them is your favourite? And the bonus 6th question. Who is your favourite YouTuber? Thank you very, very much indeed for tuning in to this lovely little Q&A session, and I hope that all of your questions have indeed been answered. If not, as mentioned before, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I shall endeavour to get to you in a prompt and timely fashion. And now it's time, once again, for you to all take your ceremonial mops and buckets and return to the dungeons. Thank you, and good night. I did promise you some sort of impression, and I must be completely and brutally honest. When asked to do an impression of something or someone, it becomes very difficult indeed to A, think of someone who I can do an impression of, and B, to think of a person, as in any person. It's just entirely slipped my mind. So, I think really the answer to that question is you're gonna have to just tune into the videos because they kind of come and go and they're lost forever once they're done. So, if you think you'd like for me to have a go at something, then leave a comment and I'll give it my best in one of the next videos that I'm gonna do, I promise. And I think with that, I'm gonna call it. So thank you very much indeed for tuning in. See you the next time. Cheerio!